I will offer tons of options throughout the class, ways to experience the same pose in different ways and adapt to your body and your needs. I also will use, if you see in the corner here, I've got a couple of blocks. You don't have to have these, but if you do, or if you have like a stack of books with you, I'll show you ways you can use them a few times throughout our flow. So as I said, our theme today is beginner's mind, coming to either a new practice or a familiar practice with the openness of what this can be like if it was your first time. So we'll start on our backs as we always do in LYT Yoga. This will become familiar beginning. And we'll plant the feet, their hip distance, hip width, and the knees are pointing up to the ceiling, and recline all the way back here. And in this first moment, just let your arms splat out to the sides, palms opening up to the ceiling. Take a big inhale here and sigh out your exhale. And one more big inhale through the nose and sigh. And now this next breath, take your inhale into your belly. So feel your belly expand up in space. Really let the air fill that up. And then sigh it out. And just one more like that. Breathing into the belly. And sigh it out. Now we'll bring the right hand to the low belly, so kind of in between your two pelvic points. And then I want you to squeeze the left hand underneath you, behind the pelvis. And we'll just pause for a second. I want you to kind of tip the pubic bone down and then kind of curl it up and feel how the pressure on your hand changes and the anchoring point really changes in the pelvis. And then find where it's kind of right flat on the top of your left hand, on the back of the hand. And then keep this orientation, start to squeeze your glutes, and we'll lift the pelvis up for a low bridge. So you're lifting maybe 4 to 6 inches off the mat. And you're pressing into the feet here. You stay in that position. I'm just gonna lock our Zoom room. We've got this nice length through the spine. Feeling the connection between the pelvis and the rib cage, and then even the length in the back of the neck. And you've got your hands here sandwiching the pelvis as a bit of a reminder to keep the pelvis from dipping. So we practice on the floor, kind of moving the pelvis around. And now we're going to use these hands on the front and back to kind of keep things in order here. You can let go of the left hand underneath you and bring it back to the front of your pelvic points. So it's what we colloquially call the hip points. And let the fingers flare here. So the fingers will point towards your pubic bone and the thumbs towards your belly button. And we call this in LYT Yoga the diamond. It's this like deep core center of mass area. And if you want a little extra here for the glutes, you can start to lift and lower the pelvis about an inch, just moving it up and down. And we're really moving from the glutes here. So the glutes are our motor to lift the pelvis a little bit, keeping the length in the low back. Of course, if at any point you need a rest, you can lower to the floor. That is one of our resting positions we can use throughout class. And then if you've got this pulse, you can keep it going. Otherwise, stay stable, and we'll press the palms flat up to the ceiling here. We're going to stretch out the wrists. So you'll pull back on the right fingers with the left hand, feeling the forearms start to open. The palm is opening and that wrist is opening. And exhale there. And then switch. So pressing left palm up to the ceiling, pulling back on the fingers with the right hand. And just notice what this stretch feels like. And simultaneously notice if you're kind of approaching your edge with the glutes, maybe they're feeling burnt out. And just pay attention to what your body's asking you to do. Do you need to pause for a second, take a break? You have permission to do that. Good, and then we'll all let go of the wrists, hands come back to the mat and lower our spine and our pelvis back to the floor. So pause here for a second and feel the heat in the glutes. And then know that this is a resting position. So you can have feet on the floor, knees to the ceiling, lying on your back. This is an option you can always come back to. We'll start waking up the core, interlace the hands behind the head, and then the elbows point up to the ceiling. So we'll inhale here. Exhale all the air out, and on empty, curl the head and shoulder blades up off the mat. Imagining that the whole front half of your body could pull back towards the mat. And then inhale, lower. Exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. Taking this time to integrate the core before we ask our body to move in maybe bigger ranges of motion. Good, and then inhale, lower. I'm gonna start adding some options here. You can stick with what we've done or try these out. Exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. First option, we extend the left knee, keep the thighs parallel here, and we flex the left foot. Left foot lowers, inhale, head and shoulder blades lower. Remember, you don't have to do this. Exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. Pause at the top. And right knee extends, flexing the foot, keeping the legs parallel here. You'll feel that this is an added demand for the core. And then the right foot lowers, inhale, head and shoulders lower. Adding on another option. Exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. Left leg extends, flexing that foot. And then we'll add a twist to the right. So your upper body is twisting away from that extended leg. Back to center, lower that foot, inhale, lower. Exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. Right leg extends, flexing that foot, and we twist to the left, upper body moving, twisting away from that extended leg. Back to center, foot lowers, inhale, lower. This is our last option. Again, it's an option. You do not have to do it. Exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. Left leg extends. Add your twist with the upper body to the right. And then the left leg moves out a couple inches to the left. Right elbow maybe flares out to the right. Huge demand on your obliques. Everything back to center, inhale, lower. Woo, I felt that. I'm with you if you were shaking. Exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. Last time. Right leg extends here. Twisting to the left through the upper body. Right leg goes out to the right a couple inches and then flare the left elbow. Everything back to center. Inhale, lower. Oh, let's pull the knees towards you. So it's kind of like pulling the knees towards the chest, but maybe you'll be up higher with the knees. Doesn't matter how close they get. And take a big inhale here. And exhale. Bring that focus to notice the sensations in your body, your edges, what was uncomfortable, what your need for breaks was, and just accept those things. And we'll tip this whole shape over onto our left side. So bringing the knees over to the left and then threading this right arm open to the right side. So it's like we're peeling a layer open to the right, like a flower petal opening or something. And we drew the knees into the chest here to keep the lumbar spine nice and long and isolating this twist to the rib cage here. So one big breath here. And exhale. And draw the knees back through center, bringing them to that comfortable, kind of slightly snugged in position, wherever that is for you. And then tip this shape over to the right side, peeling the left arm open to the left. And you don't have to have the arm down on the floor. Really be mindful of what feels good. You could even bring the arm to a cactus or a goalpost off the floor if that feels better. Big breath here. And exhale. Good, and then we'll draw the knees back towards us once again, coming onto our backs. And slowly make your way up and around. In yoga, we traditionally would call this a table. In LYT Yoga, we call this quadruped. So we've got hands under shoulders, knees under the hips, wrists are stacking under the shoulders. And just feel some length in the spine here. We're going to do an action that will come back throughout our flow in different positions. Extend the left leg back behind you, prop up on the toes, and take a second and see if the left half of the pelvis has tried to pull up away from the floor. And encourage that half of the pelvis to come back towards a neutral position, just like we did in our bridge. We'll lift the left leg using the glute, keeping things long here. And we'll move the left leg out to the left just a couple inches, toes stay facing the floor. So the leg, if you can see my arm better, is just moving on the diagonal. So toes stay facing down, left leg out to the left, and back to center. And we're gonna add a little combo. Bend the left knee, draw it towards you. Don't move the spine. We're flexing at the hip here. Extend that leg, and now abduct left leg out to the left. Back to center, bending knee and hip, drawing that leg towards you, spine stays neutral. And out to the left. One more time. Left knee and hip bend, drawing towards you. And extend. Move out to the left with that leg. And then the knee lowers, and we'll head to the other side. So this right leg will extend long behind you, prop on the toes for a moment, and check in with what happened in your pelvis. So keeping things nice and long, we'll then lift the leg to some degree off the floor, keeping everything else stable. Abducting our right leg, toes stay facing the floor, right leg moves to the right. And back to center. We'll do one more just like that. Right leg out to the right. And back to center. Adding our flexion here. Bending right knee and hip, drawing that knee forward to some degree. And then extend the leg back and abduct right leg out to the right. Bending knee and hip, right leg moves forward. And extend, right leg moves out to the right. Ooh, I got a crack there. Bending right knee and hip. Extend that leg behind you. Right leg out to the right. And back to center. Let's take the knees wide and sit the hips back. Coming into a child's pose here. This is pose number 2 you can use as your kind of safe place. Always take a break here if it feels good. Breathing here. And again, on your exhale, starting to cue into what you're feeling in the body. And we'll shift our weight forward, tuck the toes, keeping a generous bend in the knees. Walk your feet forward. And then we'll stack pelvis, rib cage, and skull. Rise to stand in Tadasana, palms open to the front of the mat. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. Feel your length here. Exhale, bend the knees. We'll reverse that motion. Hinging at the hips, coming towards a bent knee, forward fold. Right foot steps back, lower that knee and the top of the foot. And inhale, we rise. We're in a half kneel here. So we want to squeeze the right glute, helping us keep this stable pelvis. And we'll actually bring our hands to either side of our pelvis, our hips, and give a little sense of, are things neutral or is one side moving somewhere that the other isn't? So we're going for neutral here. Good, and plant the hands under the shoulders, tuck the back toes, step it back for plank. We'll squeeze at the top of our plank here. You can always lower the knees if you need. Everybody lower those knees, keep the chest open and lower to the floor. Inhale, cobra, pull the chest forward, keeping length in the low back, squeeze those glutes. And tuck the toes, lifting through the knees, pelvis lifts for down dog. You can keep those knees bent here. Right foot steps forward, lower the left knee and the top of the foot, half kneel. Inhale, arms lift. Hands come to the pelvis once again, sort of hands on hips kind of feeling. And that left glute turns on here. Feeling length through the spine. Planting those hands back to the mat. This is a great place to use blocks if you need a little lift. We'll tuck the back toes, step the left foot forward, bending those knees to keep the spine as long as possible. Press into the feet, inhale, rise to stand. Exhale, hinge at the hips, hands plant on the floor or blocks. Left foot steps back, lower the knee, top of the foot, inhale, arms lift. This time with our length here, we'll pull the elbows down into right angles, coming to cactus or goalpost. So it looks like this shape. Squeezing that left glute here, feeling some stretch in the front of the left hip. Hands plant to the floor or blocks. Plank position. Remembering you can lower those knees at any time. We'll all lower the knees. Keep the chest open as we bend the elbows to lower. Inhale, glute squeeze, chest pulls forward, cobra. And exhale, down dog. Tuck those toes, lifting the pelvis, keeping a nice bend in the knees, long spine. Left foot steps forward, lower the right knee, top of the foot. Inhale, arms lift. Goal posting the arms or cactus arms here, 90-90 with the elbows. And you'll feel just a gentle opening in the chest. Plant the hands on the mat, either on the mat or blocks. Tuck the back toes and step the right foot forward, bending those knees. Press into the feet, inhale, rise. Exhale, hinge at the hips here, moving to our first sequence. Step the right foot back, lower the knee, top of the foot for half kneel. Inhale, lift. Fingertips come to the floor. You also, again, can use your blocks. We'll tuck the back toes and just slightly extend both knees, coming towards like a bent knee pyramid pose. Right knee returns to lower. Inhale, half kneel. This time, tuck the back toe, and we'll head towards tilted crescent by extending the right knee, shifting the weight slightly forward, making this long diagonal from right heel to the back of the head. Ever so gently lower that right knee, untuck the toes, inhale, arms lift. Fingertips to the floor or blocks, tuck the back toes, lifting slightly for a bent knee pyramid. I want you to keep a sense of neutral pelvis here. So we're not twisting one way, but trying to keep things even, and you'll feel some opening in the back left leg. From here, we'll turn everything to face the side of the mat. So toes face the right side of the mat, and we bend into the right knee and hip for side lunge. Left leg stays straight. And I'm going to turn to the side so you can see as I side lunge, the hip joint is moving back. We're trying to keep the knee stable as opposed to moving forward with the knee. That's going to cause some injury. And you can have the hands on the hips or be a bit more vertical or even have the hands on the floor. And we'll move side to side here, bending into left knee and hip, right leg straightens. And just switching side to side, and take this in your own time. One more each way. Good, we'll all turn to the back of the mat, plant the left hand under the shoulder, left knee lowers, slide this right leg back, modified side plank. So pause with the right foot on the floor first. Squeeze this left glute in external rotation. Second option would be to lift the right leg, maybe lift the right arm. Third option, add an inch pulse to this right leg that's lifted. So just like we did in our bridge pose, lifting and lowering. But really keep reaching this tailbone towards the right heel. Pause if you've got that pulse. We'll all plant the right hand, tuck the right toes, and then step left foot back for plank. Remember, you can lower the knees. We'll all lower the knees. We've got a little shoulder tune-up here. Bend the elbows as much as you can without anything moving. And then press and lift. We'll just do 4 of these. Bending with intense concentration, keeping the spine really long. Pressing the floor away. Maybe you just move an inch and that's great. Press that floor away. This time we'll all lower all the way to the floor. Inhale for our cobra, pulling the chest forward. And then lower the chest, anchor your chest into the floor, reach the arms forward so the pinky sides are down on the floor. Anchor your pubic bone, squeeze your glutes, and lift those pinkies off the floor, just an inch or 2. And slide the hands back under the shoulders. Inhale, cobra, pull that chest forward. Lower to the floor, arms slide out. And pinky side lifts off the floor. Keeping that anchored pubic bone. Hands plant under the shoulders, tuck the toes, we'll lift to down dog. Pelvis rises, you can walk the feet in just a touch, rise onto the toes and bend the knees. Give your back lots of room to be long. And this will be a familiar series. Left leg will lift, 3-legged down dog. Toes stay facing the floor. Left leg moves left, back to center, and then bend the knee and hip, draw that thigh towards you. Left leg extends, left leg moves left, and draw the knee towards you. And left leg abducts, bending knee and hip. Good, and then lower the toes, and we'll go straight to the other side. Right foot steps forward, we'll lower the left knee, top of the foot, inhale, lift. Squeeze your glutes there, feel some length. I'm quite warm, give me a moment. Feeling your length here in the half kneel. Good, and fingertips to the floor or blocks. Tuck the back toes, keeping length in the spine, straighten the legs to some degree. Left knee lowers, untuck the toes, inhale, lift. And this time, tuck the left toes, tilted crescent, press into both feet. Shift your weight slightly forward as the left knee extends. We've got this long diagonal from head to heel. Gently lower left knee, returning to this stacked position. Untuck the toes, arms lift. Fingertips to the floor or blocks, tuck the back toes, gently extending the knees, keeping length in the spine. Noticing how that back chain on the right leg feels. Let's take a breath in and let it go. Walking ourselves to the left, we'll turn for our side lunges. Toes facing the side of the mat and bending into the left knee and hip. And then the right knee and hip. And remember, you can have hands on the pelvis, fingertips can be on the floor. If you're feeling really loose today in the hips, you can have palms down, make this a little bit gooier. But feel what feels like home for you today, or maybe kind of edging just slightly out of being totally comfortable and kind of exploring what's possible without pain. One more each side. Good, and turn to the front of the mat. Right hand plants, right knee lowers, modified side plank. This left leg reaches towards the back of the mat. Anchor that tailbone towards the left heel. Stay here. Second option, hover that left leg up, nothing else moves. Third option here, we add our pulse to the left leg. This is, fun fact, the same action as our abduction we've been working on, just in a different orientation. And we're keeping this right hip nice and solid for us. Pause that pulse if you took it. We'll head to plank. Left hand plants left toes, and then step the right foot back. Everybody squeeze those glutes, and we'll lower the knees. 4 little elbow bends here, keeping the spine long, strong glutes. Exploring what your edge is, and maybe noticing this heat that's building as we do these movements. Last time. And we'll all lower to the floor. This time, let's take hands stay under the shoulders. We'll roll one shoulder at a time back in space, getting this alternating kind of wave feeling. Good, and then lower the chest a bit. Arms extend forward. I've run out of space, so adjust if you need to as well. And then press pubic bone into the floor, squeeze those glutes, lift the arms off the floor to some degree. Hands return under the shoulders, alternate that rolling back. Keeping the gaze towards the floor so we protect the neck there. And let your roll go. Anchor that pubic bone, squeeze the glutes, arms reach forward. And then lift the pinky side off the floor. Good, arms come back underneath the shoulders, heading to down dog, tuck those toes and lift. Big inhale here, and exhale. Take a moment to dial into what this down dog feels like. We can have the heels off the floor. We can have a bend in the knees. I want you to focus more on the pelvis being lifted and length in the spine. It's not about forcing the heels to the floor and getting the most stretched hamstrings. There can be more buoyancy in the legs. Last little piece here, right leg lifts, 3-legged down dog. You can also do this with the knee down if it feels better. Right leg goes out to the right, back to center, and then knee and hip flex. Draw that thigh towards you. Extend, right leg abducts. Back to center, bend and flex. Right leg extends, out to the right, back to center, thigh draws towards you, and extend that leg, lower the foot. And taking your time, bend the knees here, walk the feet as far forward as you can without picking the feet up, or the hands up, excuse me. That would be quite the challenge. And then press into those feet, inhale, rise to stand. We'll do a couple of sun cell A's here. Exhale, hinge at the hips, plant the hands. We'll step back to plank. You can always head straight to down dog here. Squeeze the glutes in plank, lower the knees, lower to the floor. Keep that chest open. Inhale, cobra. And exhale, tuck those toes, downward facing dog. Inhale, rise on the toes, bend those knees a bit, and walk your way towards the top of the mat. Inhale, rise to stand. Exhale, hinge at the hips, hands plant, head straight to down dog or head to plank. We'll lower the knees, lower to the floor. Inhale, cobra. And exhale, tuck those toes, downward facing dog. Inhale, rise on the toes. Exhale, bend those knees. Walk your way forward. Press into those feet. Inhale, rise to stand. Last time here, exhale, hinge at the hips, bend those knees, hands plant, head to plank or down dog. Lower the knees or you can lower halfway. Inhale for cobra or up dog. Glutes are on. And exhale, down dog. Inhale, big breath in here. And exhale. Left leg will lift, 3-legged down dog. Exhale, step that foot forward, bend the right knee and rise to crescent lunge. So we've got some buoyancy in the back leg here to lengthen our tailbone towards the floor. Inhale, arms lift. And we exhale, take our goalpost once again. Feeling opening in the chest. Next option, keeping a stable pelvis, we'll add a twist to the left and back to center. So just from the rib cage, twisting to the left, back to center. If you're taking this twist, this will be our last one. Back to center. We'll all turn to the right side of the mat for goddess pose. Our toes are slightly on the diagonals here. We bend at the knees and hips. Taking these arms nice and wide. Second option, you can take the hands to the pelvis, either on either side or make your sandwich, front and back. We'll add a pulse. Just a little bit of lift and lower. Feeling buoyancy here. Noticing those sensations in your body, noticing your edge, noticing what feels good. Good, we'll pause. Everybody turn back to the front of the mat. We'll bring the fingertips to the floor, bend that left knee generously, and just lift that right leg up, coming into a standing L. You're squeezing your sits bones, the base of your pelvis, almost imagining they could draw towards each other, and that'll help neutralize things. Exhale here. Great place to add blocks. If you'd like some more room, like if the back of the left leg feels too intense, blocks can help give you a little bit more space. Everybody lower the right toes and we'll windmill all the way to the back of the mat, bend into the right knee and hip, left hand plants under the shoulder. Open the right arm for a little bit of a twist. This is a twisted crescent. Big inhale here. Exhale, bring your focus to the left glute and notice if it's snoozing on you and try to cultivate some energy and activation there. Big inhale and exhale. We'll continue our journey moving towards our right. So turn both sets of toes to the right and then draw the left knee behind the right foot, and then we'll sit down for a seated twist. If you didn't get any of that, all you need to know is that your right leg is crossing over your left. You can keep the left leg extended, and it'll give a little bit more room to the hips. So just feel out what feels good, and if in this moment you're like, this is pretzel move and I do not want to do it, take one of our rest poses. We'll side bend over to the right, left arm reaching. And side bend to the left, right arm reaching. Rise back to vertical. And here's our unwind moment. We're heading to a left warrior two. So if you know what that is, go for it. Otherwise, we'll take it slow. Unwinding to our left, so towards the back of the mat, and then walking past the side, back to the front of the mat. Left foot points forward and we bend into our left knee and hip. Right leg is long and those toes can be facing the side of the mat. Arms extend out from our shoulders. Inhale here. Exhale, reverse your warrior. Right arm comes to rest on the leg. Left arm reaches over. Inhale through center. And exhale, warrior variation. Left forearm comes to the thigh, right arm reaching over the ear. Inhale through center, and exhale, reverse. Left arm reaching over towards the back. Inhale, exhale, warrior variation. Rise back to vertical. Windmill, will plant the hands and step back for down dog. Big inhale here. And exhale. Remembering you can be up on the toes, have buoyant knees here. No need to be stick straight with the legs. We'll head to the second side. Right leg lifts, three-legged down dog. Exhale, step the foot forward, crescent lunge. Bending into left knee and hip, we rise. Finding this stable pelvis with the tail reaching towards the floor, arms reaching up. And exhale, we'll take a goalpost position. Next layer, if you'd like to add it, we can exhale, twist to the right and back to center. Twist to the right, keeping this left glute on. So the opposite glute's gonna really wanna hold you. It'll keep things stable. Back to center, and we'll turn to the left, opening for goddess. So left side of the mat, toes are slightly pointing on the diagonals, and we bend into the knees and hips, arms come wide. Inhale here. And next option is to add a pulse. And then our options with the arms are to be hands on the sides of the pelvis, or you can make that pelvic sandwich. Your choice. They can also be wide. Just feeling the power of the legs here and the length of the spine above it. Pause that pulse if you took it. Everybody turn to the front of the mat, moving towards that standing L. Fingertips under the shoulders, bend into right knee and hip, and just slightly lift that left leg. You can bring those blocks under your hands. Whoops. They can be as tall as you'd like. But our goal, our focus, the thing we care about is neutral pelvis and a nice long spine. And that's going to maximize the way we get our stretch in the back of the right leg. So if we open up to what's comfortable and open our pelvis so we can just really wham that left leg up, we're not stretching parts of our leg that are probably tight. Breathing here, noticing what's happening, listening to the cues that your body is giving you. And then the left toes lower, windmill all the way to the back of the mat, twisted crescent, bending left knee and hip, right hand plants under the shoulder. We open for our twist. And I want you to think about twisting from the ribs or the waistline, not from your pelvis. Inhale here, and exhale, let it out. Now bring your mind and your focus into that right glute and check if it's showing up right now or if it's snoozing a little bit. We're about to head to that seated twist, so we'll be facing the opposite side of the mat that we were before, and we'll have eventually our left leg crossed over our right. So you can turn both sets of toes to face your left, and then bend the right knee until it comes behind the left foot and under you, and then sit the hips down. If that didn't work for you, do what you gotta do to get there, or even take a rest. No pressure. And we'll side bend over to the left, right arm reaching. Feeling both halves of the pelvis anchored. And we'll side bend to the right. Left arm's reaching here. And rise to vertical. Last movement in this sequence, heading to a right-legged warrior two. Go for it if you're ready, just go, untwist. Otherwise, we'll walk ourselves to the back of the mat, press into this left foot, unwinding past the side, and then the right toes face forward, bending into that knee, and a little bit of flexion at the hip there, opening the arms wide for our warrior two. Inhale and center, exhale, reverse. Inhale through center, and warrior variation. Inhale through center, and reverse, right arm reaching over the ear. Inhale through center, right forearm to thigh, warrior variation. Returning to vertical one last time. We'll windmill the hands to the mat and step the right foot back. We'll lower the knees and sit back for a child's pose, or find any other pose that feels like a moment to come home almost. We have one little section left of flow before we take our time in Shavasana, letting all of this seal in. So take this moment before we re-enter movement to connect with what your body needs right now, the cues you're getting, noticing things that didn't feel as good as you might have expected, or maybe things that felt way better than you thought they would. Maybe you can sense some changes here in the body just that have happened in the last chunk of time we've been moving together. And exhale, let go of those expectations. On your next exhale, go ahead and shift the weight forward. And we'll tuck those toes, bending the knees generously, walk the feet forward, and rise to stand. Coming to this Tadasana with the palms forward. Now we're gonna put those sequences together. We'll move through them a bit more fluidly. So of course, continue to hold on to those resting moments and breaks that you might need. Continue to do an option we did earlier in class if I suggest something new. Listen to your bodies. You are the authority on them. So from this standing position, palms facing forward. Inhale, reach those arms forward and up. Bending the knees, exhale, we hinge at the hips for this forward fold. Right foot steps back, lower the knee and top of the foot. Inhale for your half kneel here. Now this will be familiar. Fingertips to the floor, tuck the right toes, extending the legs with a long spine for some version of pyramid. Right knee lowers, inhale, lift. Exhale, fingertips to the floor, tuck the back toes for pyramid. Feeling that opening there. And then the right knee lowers, untuck the toes, inhale, lift. Last time here, fingertips to the floor or blocks, nice long spine as the legs extend to some degree. And then walk yourself over to the side of the mat, right side lunge, bending into that right knee and hip. You can bring the hands to the pelvis if that feels better. And we'll just move fluidly here, side to side. Maybe this time you notice you have more range, like I'm noticing before. Having my palms down didn't feel good, but now it feels a lot more accessible. And that might not be the same for you, but just notice if anything feels different. Continuing on here, we'll turn to the back of the mat, modified side plank, left hand plants and the left shin lowers. Reach that right leg back. Maybe you lift it. Maybe you want to try that pulse. A new option this time, you could come to a side plank Vashisthasana, having the outer border of the left foot anchored, stacking that right foot above it. You can even add the pulse there. Totally not an obligation. We'll all plant the right hand coming to plank, facing the back of the mat. We'll lower the knees, lower all the way to the floor here. Inhale, cobra, and then lower the chest. We'll press through the palms, extending to our knees here. This is an option. Otherwise, you can just stay in your cobra, and you can alternate with the arm lift we were doing before. So if you took cobra and you want to do our knee push-up, reverse push-up, press into the palms, extend the arms. Inhale, cobra. We'll all do one more set, whatever you're doing. And tuck the toes, we'll lift into down dog. Walk those feet in a touch, get that buoyancy in the legs. And the left leg lifts. Let's bend the knee, this time circle the hip. So imagine the thigh bone moving in your hip socket. Don't let the pelvis move. And quiet that circling. We'll step the left foot forward, rise for crescent lunge. Familiar, we've been here. Goalpost those arms if you'd like. You can add a twist. We'll immediately, everyone, turn to the right for goddess, opening this right hip and bending at the knee and hip. Return to your crescent. So you'll turn to the back of the mat, tuck the right toes, maybe you add a twist to the left. And open for goddess, facing the side of the mat. Left crescent, turning to the back, tuck the right toes, add your twist. Last time here, opening to goddess. Little bit different, we'll windmill to the front of the mat, fingertips land, standing L. Nice long spine here. You could also try making this an airplane. So you can bring your hands to the top of the right thigh, or even fly the arms back. You can also stay with that standing L. Good. We'll cross the left knee behind us for a seated twist. So you'll bend that knee, slowly lowering to the floor, turning the right toes to the side. And let's roll the shoulders one at a time here. Last thing, heading to our warrior two, little different transition. We'll have the right leg forward this time, so just turn to the front of the mat, right the toes towards the front, and then shift that left leg back in space, rising warrior two. We reverse, right arm over the ear, and right forearm to thigh, warrior variation, and reverse, and warrior variation. Good, and windmill, hands plant, step the right foot back, down dog. And just take a moment to breathe. I need to adjust my screen briefly on the Zoom. And we'll head to the other side. Big inhale here. Exhale, side out, bend those knees, walk the feet forward. And we rise to stand. Inhale. Exhale, hinge at the hips, coming on the fingertips or plant those hands. Left foot steps back, lower the knee, top of the foot, half kneel. Feels maybe more familiar than our round one half kneel. Fingertips to the floor or block, tuck the back toes, bend knee pyramid, or maybe it's getting a bit more extended by now. Left knee lowers, inhale, half kneel. Exhale, fingertips to the floor, tuck the back toes and extend. Pyramid. And left knee lowers, inhale, rise. Last time here, fingertips land, tuck those back toes. You can keep that heel lifted, finding the length in your spine. And we'll turn to the left side of the mat, bending into the left knee and hip for our side lunges. Remember, you can keep the hands on the pelvis or in your hip creases, anywhere that feels good, or have them more towards the floor. But move at a pace that feels good, in a way that feels good. Your body knows what it's talking about. Good, and pause that movement side to side. Turn to the back of the mat, modified side plank or side plank, either lowering right shin and the right palm, or coming onto the outer edge of that right foot and stacking the left. So really feel out what feels strong and aligned and integrated, all while stacking above this nice externally rotated hip and strong shoulder. Good, whatever you've got going on, we'll come to plank, facing the back of the mat. Left hand plants, step the feet back. We'll lower the knees and slowly keep that chest open, lower to the floor. Two options here. Everybody inhale to cobra. And then you can slide the arms forward and lift them off the floor, or go for that reverse push-up on the knees. Lowering to the floor again. Inhale, cobra. And then your second option, either push or extend the arms and lift. Last time, cobra. Squeeze those glutes there. Your choice. And then we'll all tuck the toes and lift for down dog. When you get there, right leg lifts, bend that knee and give a circle at the hip. Pelvis stays stable, and the right thigh bone moves in the hip socket. We pause that circling, step the right foot forward, crescent lunge, slight bend in the left knee, you're up on the left toes. Add your goalpost here. Optional twist, torso to the right. We'll all open to the left for goddess. This feels like a strong, powerful stance. Back of the mat, turning on the left toes. Maybe add your twist right. Open everything for goddess. Turn to the back of the mat for crescent. Last time, maybe add your twist. Open for your goddess. Good, we turn to the front of the mat, fingertips reaching, standing L, or take the hands to the thigh and try an airplane. You also could try hovering those arms by your sides for the airplane. But again, we want that long spine. You can really be flexing at the left knee and hip. Good, we're heading to seated twist, facing what is now the left side. So bend that right knee behind you. You can lower the toes, shift the left toes to face the left, and then sit your way down to your seated twist. And by now you know if that did not work for you, if you didn't like that, you can even make your own thing up to get there or take it somewhere else. We'll roll the shoulders one at a time, hopefully sensing how open things are. Good, and last movement here, left-legged warrior two, will be moving towards the front of the mat. Turn to the front, those left toes face forward, and then ground the right heel towards the left, rising for warrior two. Ideally, you've got this pelvis almost square with the side of the mat. And reverse, left arm reaching back. Inhale through center in warrior variation. Left forearm to thigh. Press through the outer border of that right foot. Inhale, reverse it. And inhale, warrior variation last time. Really find that length in the right side. Good, and we'll take this down, plant the hands, step the left foot back, and just take those knees wide for child's pose. If you don't love child's pose, you can make your way to your back with the feet flat on the floor, knees towards the ceiling. We'll take a big inhale, exhale, returning towards your natural rhythm of breath. And again, taking a moment to dive into that curiosity and inquiry. What just happened? What surprised you? What can you let go of? And when you're ready, taking your time, we'll all make our way onto our backs. So if you're there already, no need to do anything. And if you're on your way, really take your time. And when you get there, you can gently draw the knees towards you, just like we started in the beginning. And sense if the range in your hips is different, meaning maybe those knees are falling towards you a bit, with a bit less effort. Exhale, wrap the arms around the shins and pull the head off the floor, making this tight little ball, almost pulling the forehead towards your knees. Good, and then let that open and everything falls to the floor. Legs can extend long for Shavasana. Palms open to the ceiling. And we'll take just a moment here to let this movement, all of this movement practice, seal into our bodies, but also fuse with our more spiritual or mental, emotional practice of releasing our expectations of what something should be, feel like, look like, and dialing more into our true sensations, what we actually feel. Letting your next exhale drop you into the floor. We'll be in this Shavasana for a few moments. Letting these energies mix. If you'd like to stay longer today, you can mute your computer or pause the video and stay as long as you'd like. And if you're ready to move right now, let's take an inhale through the nose. And as you exhale, reach the arms overhead, interlace the fingers, and extend the heels and the hands far away from each other, letting that air fall out of you as you get this extra stretch. Inhale here and exhale. Release that stretching effort and slowly draw one knee towards you at a time. And we'll use that to make our way to a comfortable seat, keeping those eyes closed. Just taking a minute to close together. Bringing your palms together at heart center once you get to that seat. Again, taking a final moment to notice change, sensation, areas of relief, new feelings. And just carry this reminder that our physicality can be this portal to noticing these other tendencies that show up everywhere in our life. So returning to the mat for that practice of noticing, of questioning, of curiosity, again and again. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate each and every one of you. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you. Thanks, you guys. I will stick around for questions if you have any. Otherwise, I'm back tomorrow for a lunchtime quick flow and then back again on Thursday for an hour-long flow. So I hope you have a great week and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So do you have any suggestions for some of the poses when